Hi, everyone. Welcome to our Advanced Concepts Q&A with Susan Lowell de Solorzano, who is here to answer your questions about biotensegrity. It's the 10th of January, 2025, and we're really happy
No,
to... No! Oh my gosh, it's 2026. I'm a year behind.
how did
Thank you,
that happen?
Susan. I don't know. The time is going very quickly. So January 10th, 2026, and we have an hour here. Most of that hour, we want to focus on your questions, Susan's answers. And as I said in the email, we will also be taking a short break to give everybody some information about our upcoming course that starts in less than a week, Advanced Concepts in Biotensegrity. And this is a very special project-based course where people get one-on-one time with Susan. We're really excited about it. If you want more information about that, Susan and I will stick around after the call. Okay, so without further ado, Susan, do you want to say anything before we invite people to bring their questions?
Um, I am looking forward to your questions. Because this is where you get to put me on the spot, or actually, well, this is where I get to learn where you are in your process as well. And we welcome all questions. You may not feel that your question is advanced enough or something. I say, who cares? Anybody who's been at this long enough knows that all questions are of great value to all of us.
Thanks, Susan. Now, there are a few people on the call, so we're going to use the electronic raise hand system of keeping people in order. If you don't know how to do that, if you don't know how to do that, you just give me a wave or put something in the chat and I will explain how. First up, we have Susan Koenig. Susan, are you ready to begin?
Yes. Um, it's around local global movement. You'd think of a murmuration of birds or a school of fish, and maybe it was you, maybe it was Steve, maybe it was Chris, I don't remember, but the let's take the fish really only perceives the fish next to him and moves in response to that. Maybe I'm getting it wrong, but that's how I've heard it. And then I want to understand that in relationship to the global movement of all. Am I making sense?
No, I think if you have a few weeks, we'll be able to answer this question.
Okay, the short version.
Yes. And then I'd say, Elizabeth, you don't have to raise your hand because we've got your question in the chat, and we'll put you next. Okay, it's interesting because I was just writing about this to the advanced physio group last night. So inside this seemingly simple question are many, many, many things. One thing is that these days, murmurations, herds, schools of fish, flocks, swarms are falling in the condensed matter physics world into the category of active matter, is my understanding. And um, therefore, they're in the soft condensed
Mm.
physics category. And what's weird about that and wonderful is that when I started learning about soft matter, whatever number of years ago, the definitions have all changed from when I was writing my book.
Wow.
Yeah. Or they've been, a lot of them, they've changed and been adjusted. They've gotten more sophisticated. Biotensegrity, we've been working on it since, Steve started in the mid 70s. His exploration before that, soft matter physics became unified as a field at around the same time. And so it's not that soft matter is a new invention. I mean, we've had quicksand for millennia, but it's that it's a new unified category that's like a framework that's letting people look at soft matter. And when I, and so soft matter, you know, 10 years ago, whatever, mesoscale levels of organization, things that are between solid and liquid. Well, yes, but what is a foam? A foam is a solid that is made of a liquid and a gas. How does that become a solid? And now active matter is also being considered as soft matter. So, um, so that's one piece. Another piece is we have no idea what the fish know and don't know. Right? I mean, yeah, until we have a completely fluid linguistic interactions with fish, we won't be able to. Yeah, and even then, we'll be each coming from our own frameworks. So we are only making guesses, right, about what fish know and don't know. But what we are theorizing, right, is that with small world networks, it kind of reminds me of how is it that we grew up singing certain rhymes and games and such on the playground, and they're known all over the place. How? No second grader is calling a second grader across the country to say we did this in the schoolyard today. You know, we changed it up this way. I mean, somehow that information gets distributed outward, and different rates of speed and such, different scale levels. But that's another piece of this. I think I'm not at the center of your question, though.
Well, I like this. I'm sort of thinking about, let's say I hear a sound and I turn to see, I use my eyes to see if I can notice what that sound is. So there was some sort of initiating stimulus. And depending on how well integrated I am, I may whip my neck around with just my eyes, or I may use my whole body or whatever. But there's the inner communicate. I'm interested in the inner networking between. I heard the sound. I used my eyes. I used my body. I may have used my body well or not well in responding, and it's sort of small network to global network is I was sort of thinking of it. I use the school of fish because this lateral line evidently is really important in the perception of my inner fish knows your inner fish, mostly through side to side communication, if articles that I've read are still up to date, which they may not be. But how does that travels really quickly and instantaneously through my body? That
when you say it travels through your body, from where? From where?
Well, let's say from the sound to my eyes to paying attention to it.
Okay, but also if you
So that's very fast, faster than the nervous system can probably respond and take all my parts and have connection to every single thing I'm moving and adjusting. It's probably not. I'm not saying the nervous system isn't involved, but it's probably beyond any sense of the nervous system, which we are in tensegrity, not really in biotensegrity. We're not really considering the controller, although in certain aspects it may have more importance or less importance.
Yes, I agree, and but also, I think it's different when it's another organism as opposed to you and your environment. Although those are both interactions we're constantly managing, right? And then in terms of oscillations and vibrations, yes, our ears are sensitive, so are our bones, right? There's a whole theory about what's going on with whales with their jaw bones. If you look at the picture, their jaw bones start in the front and then come back toward the head, and they get wider like a trumpet, a horn bell, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're picking up those vibrations that way. But if you look at biotremology,
I don't
okay,
know what that is.
yeah. Well, I didn't either until what, a year and a half, 2 years ago. And I started like going, biotremology is studying how organisms behave according to the oscillations and reverberations that they're feeling. So a bug standing on a leaf makes decisions according to what's coming in vibrationally. It's
It's
there's a
kind of
real,
haptic.
yeah, I mean they're different words, right? I mean we use that word. Do the biotremologists? I don't know, but it's a very tiny new field. And this great article that I read was saying that, when you hear about the elephants going up to higher ground because a tidal wave is coming, the biotremologists say, of course they do, because they're feeling it through their toes. So your question is quite huge.
So
And,
sorry.
go ahead.
So it could be I have focused on my ear and my eyes, but the oscillations, the waves, whatever the different forces might be, have contacted me through my whole environment.
I mean, you've been to a fireworks show
Yeah,
and close to the fireworks or something where, somebody's drilling into the street or something. You're not just getting that through your ears,
right.
and if you've been in an earthquake, that vibration's coming up through your feet. You're not hearing it at all. So we're made tensegrity models, tensegrity towers in particular, are really ready oscillators, right?
Yeah,
And yeah, so we're getting information, from all directions.
yeah. I think that's what I was getting at, and it's clear now
Yeah,
that,
I'm going to say one more thing about it. I was delighted when I learned that an outfielder in baseball is standing in the outfield and they have to decide whether they're going to run in to get closer to the bases or out to try to catch the ball. And they don't do it based on their eye. They do it based on the sound. When the ball hits the nodal point in the bat and it makes a very distinctive crack, everybody knows it's going out. They do it by the sound. So I'm just saying there's all kinds of many dimensions. And so at the risk of taking all the time on one question, we're going to move on to
yeah.
Elizabeth.
No, this is good. It's given me a lot more ways of talking about it and thinking about it. Thank you.
Great. Elizabeth,
Go
you're
ahead,
up. Can you
Elizabeth.
unmute?
Hey, Susan.
Hi, do you
So
want? Yeah, go ahead.
well, I can go a little more into the background as well.
Sure, do that. Yeah, so people understand where you're coming from.
Okay. So my first introduction to biotensegrity was through Vita's Sun Spiral, and he did a Google talk where he was looking at incorporating this into a device that was dropped. It was the same icosahedron, but it was dropped as a series of struts that was to be assembled as it was being dropped down to the planet. And so he's working from a soft robotics standpoint, and he's trying to understand these systems and how they can be used. And this might actually come back to Susan's question. He's looking towards central pattern generators. And what a central pattern generator is the motion that a system makes. So he uses the headless chicken as an example, where when you cut off the head and you take the control system out, it still has a pattern in it that allows it to run around the yard. And so this is where I've been looking at biotensegrity and developing the metamaterials of which is like a mesh, like an auxetic mesh that has different properties in the material itself. And so as I've been looking at the body, it seems like the sarcomere, the muscle fiber, is getting down to the most basic level of what's moving. And what I'm really struggling with is how muscles slide. Sometimes they're contracted and sometimes they're relaxed, but they're still able to slide. And it looks like they're really getting wound up, and the fascial, the connective tissue on the outside of it, is also adding to this winding. And so what I'm trying to understand is how the fascia is going from this phase change from hypermobile to really like hypomobile, where it's getting very loose to really tight. And do we know that yet?
Okay. Again, if we have a couple of weeks, I think we'll be able to start scratching the surface here. So we theorize that, and all the soft condensed matter physics people theorize that all living organisms are soft matter. And so that involves, scale levels of organization that are in between the macro and the micro or nano, right? So just a simple example, just so people understand the phase change and stuff, oobleck, cornstarch, and water is liquidy. Well, it separates, then you mix it together, then it's the solids are suspended and it's very liquidy, and then you punch it and it jackets, and that phase change is instant in response to the speed and the pressure. If you add pressure slowly, it doesn't jacket. So different soft matter materials are going to, this is all inert stuff I'm talking about now. Different soft matter materials are going to have different phase change responses, right? According to a range of things, electrical current, etc. So that's one piece of what's going on, and we can't get inside the body and isolate any phase change, right?
Right.
We're interconnected things. So the best we're going to be able to do is kind of theorize, observe, test. And then, we get Jean-Claude Gimberteau's strolling under the skin and all his endoscopy work, and we see behaviors that we can't figure out that are puzzling. And now that's a new puzzle, right? So what's going on now? The other thing I'm going to say is the theory that muscles are the things moving our bones around is at least 1,000 years old. And again, I can't get inside of an organism and see all the workings. And even if I could, the fact that I was able to get in there and see all that would be changing the environment. So who knows what else it would change. So
Right.
it ends up being very complex. And so what we're currently theorizing, and Steve did a presentation on the Tea Party you've probably seen just a few weeks ago on muscles and what we're currently kind of theorizing about how they work and what they're doing and why they're doing it. And that they are, well, he has said for years that they function like turnbuckles in a system so that the whole system can get, tighter or looser.
Drawn together.
I'm using language that may not work for everyone. Okay. So those are pieces.
It also looks like it's ratcheting because the DOMS comes from the eccentric exercises.
Say that again. The what?
The DOMS, the delayed onset muscle soreness, it's more prevalent from the eccentric exercises. So it's almost as if the muscles are being torn apart and then they're ratcheting together.
Now, see, when you're looking at that, you're looking at a really specific scale level of the system.
Okay.
Yeah, right? Because you can't look at all scale levels at once. So when you're doing when you're theorizing right now the way you are, right? You just need to remember I am looking at this scale level. The what is a muscle is muscle fibers embedded in that the muscle parenchyma, sorry, not fibers. Well, fibers too. Embedded in the fascial matrix or the connective tissue matrix that's whole system. And then at certain organizational levels, you have, muscle cells, and they have their levels of organization even within the muscles, right? The spirals within spirals and all of that. So there is a lot to take into consideration when trying to figure these things out. And the helical structure aspect, I think, is something else you'll want to look at. I don't know if you've ever built a tetrahedron. Um, I mean, a tetrahelix, sorry. But on my YouTube channel, there's a little instructional video for building a tetrahelix. And what
Okay.
that does is it shows you these straight lines of force, push and pull, right? That are self-assembling, and spheres that are self-assembling with those straight lines of force between them. And when they self-assemble, they make a structure that has multiple helices within it.
Okay.
And what are those
Yeah.
implications? You know,
Because what I'm seeing looks an awful lot like a textile where everything's twisted up in the muscle.
yeah, and that's your framework. And that is very valuable to us, that you're bringing a materials science perspective into the room here. I just want to say is really cool because because it's unusual, and your your training and your frameworks, when you're relatively new to biotensegrity or you've been at it for a while, but the newbies are worried, sometimes that they're just new to it and they don't know anything and they don't want to speak. Well, you're bringing all your years of experience with you when you come into the room, and it's a different set of experiences, right, than what anybody else has. So it's greatly valuable.
And I think that some of the models, like bridging the gap between the icosahedron to the skeleton, we need some better models, and they're very tricky.
Yes, there is a guy on YouTube. It's a little hard to find, but it'll come up if you look for it, where he basically gets human bone, that then is manufactured, but to the specimens, to the specifications that they get from human skeletons, and then he wires, strings them all together like a tensegrity, and then he moves them. It's really interesting to see.
Yeah, in soft robotics, there's one called clone robotics, and they mapped out the whole body using pneumatic actuators, and it moves very much like a human. But the problem is they can't get the strength when they're only using air or fluid pressures.
Yeah, and okay, and I'm trying to learn more about the odd wheel, which is a whole thing from robotics that's really cool and interesting stuff. But I saw something. I mean, robotics is a huge field. But getting back to this muscles assumption, I saw something from one of the robotics companies in Boston, I think it was, and they're showing this dog that they've made. And you can see that they physically structured it based on the assumption that our brain tells our muscles what to do, and then our muscles move our bones, and that moves our body. Now, if that assumption is incorrect, or to the extent that it's limited, right, they're going to be running into a wall with their robotic dogs, which is why soft robotics and the tensegrity robotics stuff is so interesting. And combining that with the materials science when you talked about auxetic materials and such. I mean, we just can't imagine what is going to be happening 20 years down the road. So what's cool
Right.
about this, right, is you guys, you're really, I was thinking about this. You're at such the front edge of things. I mean, when I stumbled onto biotensegrity, what was there for me to read? There were Steve's papers, and then I could build models, and there was Bucky's stuff. Graham's book hadn't come out yet. Daniel Claude's book hadn't come out yet. Mara Deal's book hadn't come out. It was way before you could buy a book on it. So we're in a very different place now than we were 20 years ago. And 20 years from now, I can't imagine.
And we get to help build it.
Well, yeah, it's really cool, right? This is the Wild West.
Thank you, Susan.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. I'm very excited to hear the questions that are coming up in this call. Um, and they really are, these are the types of things we want to be talking about in the advanced concept course. Now, I promised you I would keep it short. So maybe, 3 minutes, not more than five, Susan. Is there anything
Yeah.
in particular you want to say about this course that we have coming up starting on Tuesday? And
Uh, it's
go
going
ahead.
to be about the individuals and their projects. This is if you're looking for a education as filling a bucket, an empty bucket course, this isn't it. It's more lighting the fire, right? It's kind of like what we're doing here today. We're taking interesting questions and then seeing we're not trying to land on a hard answer. I mean, if we find one, that's fine, but if we think we find one, but it's really about being in the process of exploration, discovery, inquiry, sharing. Um, and so it's more about you and where you are in your process. And I'm maybe more the tour guide, the older sister who's been a little further down the road, you know, uh, whatever that means.
And can I add as well, Susan, that each individual that comes together, we find this in Trailblazers as well, brings their own passion, their own experience and knowledge, and something special happens in community. We find this in the tea parties, but we find this in Trailblazers. And so this will be a small cohort. The questions you ask will be stimulating other people's questions, and there will be conversations that are happening both online on Zoom in our calls with the bigger community, and then asynchronously through some things that we've set up on the course platform. So there's an opportunity to really progress in your own work, to get Susan's guidance, Susan's reflections, which those of us who have had the good fortune to be mentored by Susan can tell you that is very valuable, but also with the collaborative, one of my friends calls it generating new knowledge together as a community. And that's always very exciting about the things that we do. Okay, so my
I,
3 minutes are up. You've got up to
well,
two
I
more
just I
minutes,
want to
Susan, then
add,
we're going on.
yeah, I
Pardon?
just want to add, answering Eileen's question. So if you're developing educational material for your specific community, if you're interested in doing a research paper, or someday doing a research paper, or doing any kind of level of research, if you're interested in I mean, it can be any, well, look, Elizabeth's talking about building new models that are better informed. Whatever your personal project is that helps you pursue your burning question about biotensegrity, that's what this is for. This is to give you support in that process.
Does that
Uh,
answer your question, Eileen, or do you have further questions that follow up?
No, I think that meets my question. Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, I
Great.
mean, we know, right? I've gotten letters of complaints from people who take a course and they're talking about or a seminar and they're talking about biotensegrity and then they write to me and they say they said this and this. Does that make sense to you? There are a lot of people, this is starting to catch on. There are a lot of people talking about it, and not everybody has as solid a core or whatever as I wish they had. So this is to help with that. I'm going to go to Stacy's question on auxeticity. So if anybody has a six strut tensegrity nearby, and especially if it's one that does not have extensible cables, okay, if it has elastic bands, then this particular response is going to be damped, okay? It's going to be reduced. But
So
when,
before you continue,
yes,
I'm at my folks' place. I don't have my models with me. Here comes Jan Trewartha. Jan, are you looking for one? There we go. I'm going to spotlight you, Jan, so that people can see what Susan's talking about, okay? You
no
good with
pressure,
that?
man.
Well, I'm
Well,
doing that. I'll let
you said
go
six
ahead.
strut. Oh no, that is
Yes,
six strut, isn't it? Graham made this to you for me years ago.
yeah.
Okay.
So
I'm not an expert on models, so just tell me what to do.
grab two of the parallel struts, any two parallel
And let
struts,
me see if I can get myself further away because then people can see what I'm doing.
or just hold it up a little higher, Jan.
I
Yeah,
can
but
do
it's fairly big. I agree with
this
Jan. If she could take one step back, we'll see the whole thing better.
way.
Well, Jan's fixing her camera. I will let all of you know that Jan
Yeah.
is like the mind behind the Fascia Hub, and she's there in the UK with those of you in the UK.
Yeah.
All right, so Jan, you're going to grab one of the sticks right in the middle of the stick.
Any stick? There we go. Okay.
Any stick, right. Now the stick that's parallel to it, grab it in the middle of the stick.
Okay.
Now push those together. What happens to the other sticks?
They also come together.
Yes. And pull them
The ones
apart.
above and below. And
Yeah.
I can't see what's happening to the one parallel.
Then move the model so you can see what's going on.
Okay. Definitely.
And then pull it.
This one and this one are going together. And so are this one and this one. Yeah, they're all going together.
And pull it out as well. Stretch it out.
Oh yeah, they're all separated. Yeah. Did you see that?
Okay. So what's going on? And keep doing it because I'm going to ask you to look at a couple of other things. Okay. This is auxetic behavior. It is condensing and expanding in all directions at once. We're very used to something called Poisson's ratio, where if I take a hunk of bread dough and I squish it down, it's going to get wider. And then I can pull it back up into a ball and it will not be as wide and it will be taller. This doesn't do that. This does something else. And I want you to now look at while she's doing that. Keep playing, Jen,
And sign, doing all right.
and play around. And I want you to see if you can focus on the triangles of strings,
Yeah.
which are turning.
Yeah.
Okay. So there is a helical action that's also going on because the triangle opposite that triangle is going in the other direction.
Just put that like that so you can see that it's rotating. Right?
Okay, so this is part of a phase change thing that gets studied when we build the vector equilibrium. You can see Buckminster Fuller doing with an exoskeletal model of the icosahedron, getting it to collapse all the way down to an octahedron, and then it can fold into a tetrahedron and then expand back out again. So That's auxetic. Stacy, did we answer your question?
Thank you, Jen.
Thanks, Jan.
Yeah.
Can I just ask you, Stu? Oh, sorry.
So no, I think you're improving it. It's a scaffold of how I can communicate. And if I don't have a model nearby. So, but thank you. I realized when I was talking to my neurobiologist son, I thought it's so tricky. I thought I could really, because I could see he wasn't really understanding it. So that was my communication. So I'm trying to figure out a way when you don't have a model
Yep,
to.
let's do it here.
Okay.
So I was working with a yoga teacher who is preparing some written material, and she had been trained, this is many years ago, that when you inhale, your rib cage gets wider and your spine gets shorter. And when you exhale, your rib cage closes in and your spine gets longer. She had been trained that that's what happens when you breathe. To my mind, what that is Poisson's ratio, the thing that we are used to with a ball of clay or dough or whatever, being translated into the body. A way of seeing the body that's not informed by tensegrity. Okay? And that just doesn't realize that it is possible for things to expand in all directions at once. Many years ago, I was teaching Tai Chi in a dual diagnosis center in DC, and some people were on drugs that really would compromise their ability to get up and do Tai Chi with us, and they would mostly watch. That was fine. And we were doing breathing one day, and this gentleman who almost never said anything, he was imagining he had held a bird when he was young, and he said it did this. In other words, the bird in his hand breathing was expanding in all directions
Okay.
and then condensing in all directions, just as the bird sat in his hand. So if you want to try to breathe and expand your lungs and make your spine shorter, you have the capacity to do that, right? And you have the capacity to exhale and stretch yourself up. But what does a dog that knows nothing about our machine models do? What does a bird do? What does a baby do? And if you take a tip from the little six strut tensegrity model and say, what does it feel like if when I'm inhaling, I'm expanding in all directions at once? And when I'm exhaling, I'm condensing into my center from all directions at once. So there's a way to apply what you're physically feeling in the model using imagination, metaphor to bring it into a felt sense.
Susan and I have a video here of a duck breathing, one of my duck friends breathing. If you want me to show it, I will.
You know
And
what? Let's let everybody explore that.
do you want me to show it?
I think that because of our time
Yeah.
limitation,
Okay. You know what I'll do? I will post it inside with the replay. So if
Yes.
anybody wants it, they can go back to there. And I will also
because
say,
we've got a
Susan
question.
Koenig, we're
Yeah.
going to go to people who haven't had the opportunity to ask a question yet. So
So it's
are you-
Kamila.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Hi, Kamila.
Hi everyone. I tried to write it so I don't talk too long. So you can see the question. It comes to the words of tension and compression and using them when we talk about the human body and when we describe movement. I have missed some trailblazers, so maybe you have discussed that. But this is like something that I hear often, that people talk about human body and say, I see there is more compression there. I see there is more tension. And it gets even more confusing when it comes to body workers and movement therapists, or especially manual therapists that like deal with the touch, and we call the tension, we have the word tension also in different context. So I'm just wondering if you are using it, because I know you have beautiful guidance when it comes to movement. And also related to our class yesterday where you were, when we were describing how people look, like what we see in the shapes. So if this is something that is welcomed, because I'm finding hard time to use it in this context myself, like
Yep,
that.
yep. So thank you. It's a great question. When we're looking at organisms, whole organisms, we're looking at a structure or a behavior, a set of events that's got multiple scale levels of stuff happening, right? And then we have words like tension and compression that we use, but we could use other words as well. The theory, right, is that we are tenso-compressional systems. So when Jan was holding up her tensegrity model for us, right, if you cut the strings or you break the sticks, the behavior is going to be different. The behavior of the strings and the struts sitting on a table before it's assembled is completely different. There are emergent properties that come to be and behaviors that aren't there before we get this specific arrangement, which is a tenso-compressional system. You never have one without the other. I mean, in physics, you don't have tension without compression. Okay, so it's always rebalancing as things change. Now, we use these words in our language in a colloquial way, which is a little different from the way people who are using it, who are doing physics, use it and apply it, right? So it's the same word, but it gets used differently. When I was growing up, there was a commercial on TV about people getting a tension headache, so we have to be careful and clear in our minds and go slowly. That's my recommendation, or my personal solution for all of this, is that you just go slowly, you back up a little bit, you get clarification, and then you go on from there. So if I physically seem compressed, if I said to you compress, what would you do? If I said to you expand, what would you do? If I said to you tension, what would you do? And when we do that, tension and compression aren't exactly physical opposites the way they are in physics. There's for those of you who have my book, there's the Firth of Forth Bridge demonstration that I have in there, the photographs. And online, there's a Princeton engineering class, and she's got the students all doing this bridge demonstration. And she's asking the ones who are, who have their arms that are being used as part of the bridge, how do you feel? Do you feel stretched or squeezed? Now, that's an engineering class. They're talking about physics, but she's not saying push and pull. She's saying stretched or squeezed. because they're doing this physical experiment. Okay. So there's the language, there's the framework, engineering, physics, day-to-day life, body work, whatever, all, and then there are the multiple scale levels and the understanding of things as a tenso compressional system in terms of organisms. That's our theory. Does that begin to help with any of that?
I think it's for bigger discussion, and thank you for that. What's helping me is to take the step back and slow down, especially when we talk about it, because I see how it's emerging. And as you said, like some of the definitions that you have in your book have changed. So it's not something like static that we have under our hands and we learn it and it's like that. And I see this constant need to be flexible and open-minded, and the classes we did 3 years ago have to be changed in a way, you know. It's not just the understanding, but it's the whole concept that it's developing. And what I hear from you, or what I'm taking, is that it's also nice to take the tension and or any of the wording more in a whole system oriented. I was like, particularly, I'm struggling when someone is saying, I see here is more push and here is more something is. So it's everything about the context. And I hear that there is no clear answer as almost like with everything in biotensegrity, that it's about specifying it with questions and clarifying and taking this step back, if that makes sense.
That's it. That's it.
Anyway, it was helpful.
I mean,
Thank
what
you.
do you do when you're driving around and you get lost? You'll go back to the last place where you knew where you were. The name of that Princeton, there is a video. I can look to find the link in a minute, but the human cantilever model of the fourth bridge, FORTH bridge.
Oh, I have it saved. I will put it in the chat if I
You can
can.
put the link in the chat. That would be really
Yeah.
helpful.
Thank you. It's just my need for some definition again that I need to
Yeah.
let go.
I think never be afraid to slow down, go back, and go back to where you are the last time you felt like you were sure of where you were, and then try again, you know? I mean, we have to be able to give ourselves that latitude.
Sometimes when I think I'm sure and I go back, I really wasn't sure. I was sure.
Well, another benefit.
Yes. Okay, we've got 8 minutes left till the hour. And I would like to invite at this point anyone who has a question for Susan regarding concepts to unmute and to bring that question to Susan.
And in the meantime, we can hear Susan Koenig's question.
Well, I was going to say we don't have time for Susan's question if
Oh, we
someone
don't?
else does.
Oh,
So
I
if
see.
no one else does, we'll go to Susan. But if anyone does, just feel free to unmute right now.
And let me also thank Craig and Alejandro, Alex, for being here as well. I don't think I got a chance to welcome you in.
Okay, go ahead, Susan.
I have a question.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mary. I missed that.
I
Go
just
ahead,
turned on
Mary.
the mute. The word I'm looking at the study guide for the earlier course and the definitions, concepts, terms. So compliance, what is meant by that in this discussion? Compliance.
Yeah, compliance. I mean, I just use kind of a dictionary definition
Okay.
that it's able to when
Play nicely, right?
yeah, right, and move and
Okay.
change in accordance with and respond to. I mean, honestly, guys, I look up words over and over again
Yeah.
all the time. I give myself permission to do that, and then I might say, in engineering, does compliance have a specific definition? Mary, offhand, I don't know. It might.
Okay,
See?
that's fine.
And so I'll just take a look.
Sometimes, Susan, I hear you talking about compliance in reference to or in relationship to stiffness as well.
Well,
No?
you can play nicely with stiffness.
Yeah, and stiffness
Think of fencing.
is a tricky word in terms of the physics and the engineering, because a cable that does not stretch is stiff. And that
Right, okay.
does not comply with our dictionary definition, because if I have a pile of strings that's sitting in my hand, they don't feel stiff, but they're stiff in that they're non-compliant when pulled. They
Perfect.
go past that. You see, but that has to do with the use of the word stiff. So it can get very tricky.
We have a lot of conversations about language in our community. Okay, so Elizabeth's hand is down again. Susan, I think you've got the last question, unless it's very quick to answer.
It's about helping me understand how I can explain that our systems are pre-stressed and how clients
yeah.
can.
Yeah. That pre-stressed is okay. Yeah. So pre-stressed is a word from engineering. Okay. When that pile of sticks and strings is sitting on the table, nothing's being tensed and nothing's being compressed. Then I build a tensegrity structure, which I hope you've all done. And in the process of doing that, I'm pulling the strings in. I'm getting them to push on those on those struts. And I, using my metabolic energy, impart some of that to the structure, creating that tenso-compressional system, which is storing energy like a battery. Okay, Kenneth Nelson's models are storing the energy that he put into them, or model sculptures for him, right? That he put into them decades ago. Okay, that is pre-stressed. What is the pre? Well, before somebody put that tenso-compressional system together in such a way that the tension compresses the struts and the struts tension the cables, before somebody came along and did that, it wasn't a pre-stressed structure. So now we want to take tensegrity and apply it to the body. When did you get your pre-stress? When did you lose it? Well, if you're alive, you've never lost it. And if you're here, you've always had it. From my perspective, pre-stress in that sense is something we inherit, going back, whatever billions of years. That one organism that begets another, that pre-stress comes through, propagates through the evolutionary continuum. That's the only way I can make sense of it. It's not, because for us, it can't be externally imposed, right? The way it is when we build a model. But then we use this engineering term pre-stress. Sorry, go ahead, Susan.
Well, that's great. I like the discussion. I see it merits a bit of a conversation. I remember Graham saying, well, you cut yourself, what happens? The skin widens because we're pre-stressed. Now we've broken that, the tensegrity. And so we're pulled apart. And I like that, but I used that with a client and they looked at me like they totally didn't get that because it was a big jump to go, we've all cut ourselves and we've all had that experience, but to talk
Yes.
about it in terms of force vectors or whatever the language really is just,
Yes.
it's not out there.
Let me take just a minute on this because I think there's something really brilliant here and accessible. Yeah, we've pretty much all had a cut from time to time. And at no point when you cut yourself does the skin get closer together and
Right.
start to overlap. Right? Maybe at a certain point, if you have a certain part of your body that's very saggy, wrinkly, maybe it's possible. But generally speaking, it don't happen. Now, go online and treat yourself to x-rays of broken bones.
Yeah. Good.
Okay.
Yeah.
When somebody breaks an arm or a leg, the two pieces overlap. That means they must have been compressed because now the compression can't happen like this and they slip past each other. You don't see a broken femur and it's like that.
Right.
It's pulled apart. Or a tibia or fibula, any of, just take humerus, whatever, take a look and you'll see that those long bones, when they break, they then there's an overlap. That is proof that they previously had been under compression.
Under compression. Great. Thank you.
Primarily, I mean, they're tenso-compressional structures as well,
Right.
we theorize, but now we're talking multiple scale levels.
Mhm.
Okay,
Susan?
great.
Susan,
Who said
can
that?
you think of a different word to take the word stressed out of there and use something that is relatable to that? And because everybody's got their mind on stress, pre-stress.
Absolutely.
Is there another word that would be easier and understandable or interchangeable?
Yeah, I mean, you could use tensioned, right? You could use tensioned, but then you have to be careful that you're not getting into the tension headache thing, right? So I've seen people, say, like you can do this in your body. You can kind of amp up. Like, okay, get ready. On your mark, get set, go. Go is the release, right? And that get set, you're condensing, you're getting ready to push a car. You're doing something. There are a lot of different words that we probably use.
Craig just came up with a really good one. He said loaded. So there's preloaded, and that loaded word is really good too.
And Elizabeth offers the same. Cells dividing within the same membrane would create the preload, which is an engineering term.
It's an engine, but loading, see, I can think of loading better than stress because stress has such an umbrella meaning to it. Whereas
Exactly.
loaded, it's preloaded. It's like when we're like with the cut finger thing. Okay, that's preloaded, it's formed, it's already formed, and when you cut it, it's unformed. Like there are so
Good.
many, but I just thought stress is a really hard word to use.
And so is tension. And so compression B. I heard a group of youngins talking, and someone was saying that they felt socially compressed.
Huh.
Now it's like, whoa. So
Mhm.
let me go back to what we were saying at the very beginning. These are first days, early days, right? For thousands upon thousands of years, beavers have been building beaver dams, termites have been building termite mounds. We've had continuous compression structures, people building stone walls. Okay. Tensegrity is about 100 years old, culturally as we know it, although millions and billions if we look at the organism. But we've only found this key to how to build things this way in the last 100 years. We are very much at the front edge of this. The mathematicians are still working out the math, right? The engineers are still working out the engineering. The language, all we can do is borrow language from other systems
and you're going to get everybody from a different language, different ethnicity. They're all, it's like you have an x-ray done and you've got 10 radiologists there. You're going to have 10 definitions, 10 different type of words. It all depends where you're coming from and what you understand.
Perfect.
And then you've got the new information coming in.
Okay,
And
great.
Mary,
Thank you, Susan.
can I
Thank
just
you, Mary. I'm going to let Mary Bond because your hand has been up.
wait.
If
I
you-
just want to give people the background that Mary Rothwell was, I believe, an emergency room nurse for many years. Was that it? Or
No, I was a surgical intensive care nurse.
a surgical intensive care nurse? Thank you very much. Sorry, go ahead,
Thank
Chris.
you. Okay, Mary Bond,
Uh,
last one to you, and then we'll close
Well,
the Q&A portion.
I had a comment about the pre-stress, but regarding this last little bit of conversation, I don't see anything wrong with educating people.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I do first, talking to people. I make them revise the word tension so that they have another definition, which is my definition that I want them to learn. And the same thing with stress. I say, this is this stress and this is this other thing. You know, just it's okay. You can teach them that. And then it's less of a problem of what word you're going to use, because then you're consistent with the academics who use the word pre-stress. You know, just stick with that. That's my opinion. And about the other thing of pre-stress, let's see, what I was thinking about was that the essential pre-stress in our system, since we're soft tissue creatures, we have to have that in order to be alive. If we don't have the pre-stress, we're noodles and we're dead. So, but that pre-stress can be distorted by accidents or dysfunction or poor use. So, for example, paradoxal breathing, if you breathe in that first way, where you're breathing wide and short, and then exhaling long and thin, or whatever it is, that's not auxetic, right? That's a distortion of the breathing pattern, which will lead to dysfunction down the road, but the essential pre-stress will still be there. It will just be probably spiraled in some other direction or something.
Yes, this is great. Thank you, Mary. Yeah, and something I am sorry, Chris, I know we're over time. There is, I can't remember what it's called. Maybe Mary Rothwell does. There's a situation where somebody breaks their ribs and they're trying to breathe. And when they exhale, the lung expands outside the broken rib cage. And when they inhale, the lung goes in toward the rib cage. And I think we are going to need biotensegrity to understand that mechanism because I cannot make sense of it. I can't remember what the condition's called.
Well, you're describing paradoxal breathing, which happens also in trauma that it doesn't involve a broken rib. It can involve any kind of trauma.
Oh no, I'm okay, Mary. No, this is a pathology situation.
Okay.
Okay, where ribs are broken and are not containing the lung.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would expect that when somebody inhaled, the lung may go outside of the rib cage then.
Dan just answered you. She called it flail chest.
Flail chest. That's it.
Jan just answered. Yeah.
Great.
All right, Jan. Thank you.
Thank you.
Exactly. Flail chest. Go online, take a look at that because it is when they are exhaling that the lung goes outside of the rib cage. And Craig Nevin, I hope you're going to figure that one out.
And Stacy Barrow says Jeremy Renner. Stacy, did you want to add a comment to that?
Yeah.
Please.
Sorry, if you've listened to his story, it that must have been what was going on because of you know about his critical multiple trauma experience and how he had to really intentionally breathe in a certain way when he had been crushed by this massive machine. So
Snowmobile. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, thank you,
Wow.
everybody. What an amazing discussion. And at this point, you have a taste of what we're going to be doing in the advanced concept course. I also want to let people know that these are the types of questions we also have in Trailblazers. Biotensegrity Trailblazers is actually a prerequisite for the course. So if you're taking the course, you'll also have a Trailblazers membership for that time. And I know you'll be busy in the course, but hopefully you'll be able to drop in on some of those calls as well. Now, I'm going to keep the recording going, and we invite anybody with further questions about the course to ask Susan, or maybe I'll be the one to answer if it's technical type questions. Please feel free to unmute and bring them to Susan now.
And thank you, everyone, for being here, for your interest in biotensegrity, for your contributions, your perspectives. It's so valuable.
I listened to this conversation. I'm thinking, oh, I hope that so and so comes to the course because, oh, there are so many wonderful things that are going to emerge that we can't even predict yet, but we have a sense of those seeds planted and the ripeness for things to appear.
And
Stacy, you're welcome.
Did we get the video in there? Oh yeah, for the fourth bridge. Thanks for putting that in, Kamila. And it looks like there's a bunch of other interesting things I'm going to need to be clicking on. Okay.
Okay, so I'll put the chat up with the replay in the Q&A section of our platform. And once that is all available, I will send you all an email. Okay?
And so I'm just going to hang out for a while. I'll take any questions.
Okay, great. And it's wonderful to see everyone. Thanks for coming. Go ahead, Mary. Mary Bond. You're muted though.
Yeah. This question isn't about the course, but it's about, I seem to have written down a presentation from Tina Wang on, and I can't figure out where that was and how to register for that.
Oh, when that's coming, that's Bob Cohen is putting that together.
I'll put a link up in the chat.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, Bob Cohen, just for those who don't know what she's talking about, Bob Cohen's going to have Tina Wang. I think is it a biotensegrity interest group, a big meeting?
It is, and for anybody who's watching this later on YouTube, you can find it in the EB community discussion space. You'll probably have to search it if this is a long time from now, or
Oh, it's this week.
yeah, it's on the 15th, but there'll be a recording. I think did he record some, right? And Mary, you are also a Trailblazer member. If you go into Biotensegrity Book Club and search, well, if you go onto the Trailblazers page and search Tina Wang, we had a discussion there with her as well. And we had a Biotensegrity tea party with Tina and Fabiana Silva that you could find by
I saw that
searching.
one.
Okay. Yeah, she's fantastic.
And then, Chris, you're sharing a whiteboard?
Did I share the wrong thing? I'm
don't
sharing a
know.
whiteboard?
I don't know. I'm looking in the chat. I'm not going to concern myself with it. I would say anybody who wants to speak up.
Oh, I think that was a little mistake there, that whiteboard thing. I don't know how I did that. I'm going to delete it.
Okay.
And I am also going to put the link up for the application to the course, which I should have done.
Frank, you look like you're ready to show something. You want me to spotlight you? You got to unmute.
I've got a background, so it tends to not show what I'm trying to show. But
hold it close to your body.
The background's
Yeah,
hold it close to your body.
Oh, it's totally
on you.
Oh.
Are those your fingers in the tubes?
Those are my fingers on the metacarpals of my thumb and first two fingers.
That's great.
And that is half of your icosahedron, 6-bar.
That's right.
You do it with the other hand and you can assemble a 6-bar naturally. So
Oh,
your metacarpals are two halves. Do the same thing. It's just
of your six strut tensegrity.
it's
Yeah.
such tensegrity. So your hands are, this is why when people are showing things with their hands, they're doing this and this. This is
Oh,
because
you got it right there with your thumb
your
and
hands are the joint together. That's why you can manipulate everything.
Wow.
So that is your structure of your hand. In
Funny.
engineering, they say, well, that's your axes, your X, Y, Z.
And what do you have cotton there at the end of the tube?
That's just cotton stuffing, just to stiffen it so it doesn't fall off.
Yeah. That's great. It's fabulous.
But I didn't finish yeah. So that shows quite clearly what one thing has always puzzled me is why is there this gap here from the thumb? It doesn't match up. In engineering, you take your axes from that or hand, this X,
Yeah.
Y, Z.
Yeah.
And they don't add up, they don't never lined up. Because when you do it this way, your thumb is offset. But
Right.
it works perfectly when you use two hands. You can do it. So that is your 6-part tensegrity. And so your body is structured around tensegrity. Your hands are your most useful thing. When people are talking and they're using their hands to display things
Yeah.
and say this and that, that's why, because your hands are capable of doing all these things. So when you got your two
Yeah.
hands, they fit in exactly. Left and right-handed they fit in perfectly. So that's all automatic, and that's how because I'm interested in how does your body interact with the environment. That's puzzled me for about 40 years. So that's what I trying to understand, how your fingers and feet grip the earth and how and that the hands engage with each other like this. So you can put the object in between your fingers and then you can adjust it like a tensegrity. So I thought that was a good demonstration to make it clear.
That is fabulous. Thank you. Jason, you got your hand up.
Yeah, my questions were more about the course, not concepts. Is that okay?
Yeah.
So the first seminar is coming up in a few days, and you're going to be presenting in that first group seminar what to expect of the course. But from the discussion today, there's no set curriculum. We're not going to be talking about particular concepts through, in a orderly way. Are we? Is it going to be this kind of format, or are we talking about each person's project, or just can you give some overview of at least the group seminars? Are the projects more for the one-on-one time with you? Just that's my question.
Some of each, I'm sure. Okay, I'm going to do a short little presentation for each one that brings in some points to keep in mind. Some of these are not about necessarily biotensegrity, but it may be more managing the territory, the context, the world we're in when we're trying to work in biotensegrity, which happened today as well, right? So I have in mind a number of issues I want to go over with somebody, but they're not the kind of thing where I say, read chapter 3 and then we will discuss it in class. There's a little of that will come up. Like I've asked everybody to watch the 7 things about biotensegrity that even experts get wrong, but you don't have to video that's on my personal YouTube channel. We may not, depending on how things go on Tuesday and what things people bring to the table when we do our introductions and people talk about their different, kind of reasons for being there and saying hello and all of that. We may not get to that. I don't promise we'll get to that, but maybe we will get to that. So I need to leave it open enough because it's more like a graduate seminar and not like, a beginner's class where it's like, now we're going to teach you this, now we're going to teach you this, now we're going to teach you that. Those of us who are working in the advanced concepts in the field, have read all the books, have looked at all of this, have looked at all of that, and it's like, okay, what edge am I going into now? Because there is more material than any one person can contain. Okay, so let's not kid ourselves and think that if I now just learn these 8 secrets, I will now get to wear a biotensegrity star on my forehead. The world doesn't work that way, after 6th grade or whatever. So it's really more like everybody who's part of the group is bringing different things to the table. If I make the program too rigid in my mind, there won't be room for that cross-fertilization. And I mean, just look what happened here today. It was delightful and wonderful because of everybody's different places they're coming from and different areas of focus and different goals. Does that help? Does that answer your question? Or I used to say to my Tai Chi students, does that not answer your question sufficiently?
No, and that's what I was expecting. I just, knew it would be open, but wasn't sure if there would still be, because you could take any, like any one of the questions that came up today and spend each of the seminars talking about them. But there are, the, a concept like osecticity is both, it can be explained simply, but it is a deep ocean of inquiry in and of itself. So I wasn't sure if in the 6 seminars, whether there was going to be sort of a theme, at least to each one, that would then be a portal to an open discussion.
Not in that sense. And here's why, right? So we come together, right? And like today, let's take auxeticity. Stacy's trying to understand it in a way that she can speak to her son, who's in medical science or whatever, clearly a scientist, right? But Elizabeth here is going to have a different perspective on auxeticity, right? And what we've discovered today is that, she's among the group and she becomes a resource for all of us. I mean, Elizabeth, I'm going to put you on the spot. If I said, what's auxeticity, what would you say?
that the same definition where when you raise it up, it gets taller and it also gets wider. Another example to feel in your body is in your calf, where you flex your foot and your calf gets wider and longer. And when you point your toes, it gets smaller and shorter.
So that's great. So she's giving us a physical example of auxeticity that now we can all use. And so because we each have our own experiences and areas of interest, when we come in together into the room, we can get that cross fertilization going, where that can happen, and it can't happen in a room full of beginners in the same way, and in a room full of people who have a certain level of seasoning with the material. It's wonderful. I remember going to a Tai Chi camp one summer, and I went to Maggie Newman's camp, and Carol Yamasake was there, and both of them had studied with Professor Jung in New York, and nobody else at the camp had that kind of background. And sometimes there were a few moments when Carol was asking Maggie questions. She's asking her big sister questions. These are questions I couldn't have imagined coming up with, right? Because my level of sophistication was nowhere near where theirs was. And it was a privilege to just be the fly on the wall for that. The deeper and the more sophisticated your understanding, the discussions in the group will change. Now, Eileen's been working. Can I put you on the spot, Eileen? Eileen's been working since we did the course based on my book in 2021. Eileen's been working with other physiotherapists, doing a weekly meeting. And Kamila, you have too, right? And I'm not in those discussions every week. Okay, I've been in several of them, but they were amazing. What do you think, Kamila, Eileen? Because you've been at this for 5 years.
Yeah. So an ongoing commitment is really important. And I think we initially came together to support Mariana in a question that she had about reaching other PTs, and she wanted to know if she was being perceived well. And that's when we started meeting once a week. I think that was January 2021. So it's been quite a while. Mutual support, exploration, challenging each other. And then this course was born out of that because we felt like we really had something to offer.
And when you get together and it's just the 8 of you, do you not find that your level of discussion and engagement, I mean, nobody else in the world is having, I'm imagining, that kind of discussion.
Yeah, I would say it's a real emergent thing. Often we don't have an agenda. Now we do, because one of our meetings we have to plan the next course, the next month's thing, and revise what we did previously. But usually, and in the advanced membership we have for people that have taken our course, something emerges out of the membership. Just like you're talking about, something is going to emerge out of the people that are assembled for this course that you're planning. It takes a certain level of trust for that, I think. And a certain amount of letting go on the part of the teacher, Susan. You have to trust the process, that something meaningful is going to emerge in that time. And for those of us who like structure and shape, it's tough.
Yeah. Oh, and it is. It's definitely, when you're teaching it, like, and I know you've done this too, Eileen, you've done a lot of teaching. You got to be willing to go out on that limb in order for that sweet stuff to happen. You won't get that sweet stuff unless you create the space for it. That's my experience. And I've been teaching one thing or another for many decades. Kamila, you've also been part of that physio group. Did you have anything you wanted to, any other thoughts on that?
I'm just, my thoughts are now about the teaching stuff, as you say, that it's not just about for the teacher to trust it, but also for the people who are considering to enroll. I would almost say it's like not logical thing for the people who come because it's like so hard to describe what's going on.
Yeah.
I believe in this what you're offering, and I'm very glad Jason asked his question because I'm here. I'm curious to hear more about it, but I was like not even sure what I what I want to ask. It's even to ask the question. It's hard. But when it comes to our meetings, it started that we just wanted to support each other, and then it was very helpful to have a group of people who have similar interest and similar lens because it's very rare still. And at the same time, I really appreciated in your course in 2021 when there are people with different backgrounds. Like now, what Elizabeth was talking about, that's like I have no idea about anything about that, but it's like very um, enriching for me. And I remember there was some biologist and Mike, of course, so it's nice both ways. People with similar background, but also from different. That's what I love about this community, that there are people from they're different.
Oh,
Yeah.
and okay, we started these tea parties in 2019. Okay. And I think that's when I first met Craig. 2020, March of 2020. And that's when I first met Craig, somewhere in that year, if I'm remembering correctly. Craig Nevin was at the first big in Europe that they had in Saint Malo that Danielle Claude had. And I've never seen Craig do this thing with the fingers in the tubes before. Or if I do, I didn't remember it. If I saw it before, I didn't grasp it in the same way I did today. I'm really interested and excited about it. I can't wait to get some tubes on my fingers. And I wonder, Elizabeth, you're building models. When you saw Craig do that, was it interesting? Did it open a new territory?
Um, yeah, I mean, I was thinking about the thumb too. I was also thinking about something I've been fascinated since I was really little, that like when you sit in the fetal position, your knees fit in your eye sockets.
Oh, you and Craig are going to have a very good conversation. I just that you've said that, and the things that I've heard from Craig before that I only understand the front edge of. I think the two of you should have a 1 hour meeting with each other because there's a lot of territory there. And what an amazing question. I've never heard anybody say that. Have you, Eileen, Kamila, any of you, that your knees fit in your eye sockets? So this is a corporeal awareness, okay, that you've got, Elizabeth, that you've got this question that you've had since you were a kid. I mean, that is really cool to me. That is so exciting. And who knows where it will go? Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so Eileen, sorry, I was a bit late reading your message. Do you have any more questions about the course? Or anybody have any more questions about the course? Go ahead, Eileen.
Not a question, but an observation that I like the idea of it. I just think the timing isn't right for me right now. I have a project in mind, but I'm not ready to dive into it because I have some other leftover projects to get done.
Uh-huh.
So, yeah.
Well, we hope to do it again.
But you, Elizabeth, have created and material for the Traeger community in biotensegrity.
You mean you, Eileen?
I mean, you,
Yeah.
Eileen. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I did that quite a few years ago. Yeah, but I keep bringing it up in every month or so there's something that I can frame from a biotensegrity lens in something that I'm teaching.
Mm.
Great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
It is my hope that we will be able to do it again.
Okay, I think it would be time then to sign off. Thank you, Susan. Thank you, everybody, for coming and for sharing part of your weekend with us. Um, I'm super excited about this. Yeah. If you have any questions at all, feel free to send me an email. Just reply to any of the emails that I've sent, and I should get that, or you can message me in Sutra. And I look forward to seeing some of you on Tuesday when we start.